It was the year 1996. What God did for me that year and for us as a family, I really don't have words to describe, but I'll try to tell you so you can lift your faith and know, just knowing that God is faithful. And when you pray, He will answer in His way, but it's always the good way. I remember I was at work on this shift. It was the evening shift, and I was on my nursing job. And I was in the lunchroom, and they called me to say I'm to come to the nursing station. There's a phone call for me. So I got up and I went to the nursing station. So I said, "What's going on?" Nobody answered. They said, "Pick the phone up." So I picked the phone up, and I could hear a relative of mine saying to me that our relative was shot. A young guy, a young boy. He was only 15 years old at the time. He was shot, and he was excited. He's shot. He's shot by the barber shop. Come, quick. At Toyota Service Centers, you can count and so parts and certified technicians. I got up, got into my vehicle, and drove to this place. It was in New York City, and I had to drive from Manhattan to the Bronx, where it took place. As I got there to the place where the incident took place, I didn't know the circumstances of the shooting. So when I got to the barber shop where it took place, I asked the guys. They said that he was taken to the hospital, a nearby hospital. So I traveled over to the hospital where he was taken. And when I got there, he was lying down on a stretcher, and family member. And I called out his name, and he answered, and I said, "Thank God, you're still alive." Then I went to the doctor, and I said, "What's going on?" The doctor, nurses that was there, and they said he was shot like 9 times from the waist, the legs, the back, the belly. Yes, those are the areas. From the bottom half of his body was shot up. But he was talking. He was conscious. I guess because he was young, he wanted to live, and God was on the scene. He, and then after some time, I was talking to the nurses and asked them, what are you going to do for him? And they said, well, the gunshots, most of them went through the body, so it's not critical. I'm like, what? 9 shots? Not critical? Can't you do nothing for him? He said he's okay. I didn't believe that anyway, because I was taken back by the shots. However, they took him to a room, etc. And they came to me and they told me that they needed signature for surgery. And they told me what they would do. And I gave my consent. And they did the surgery. But the surgery didn't go well. After a few days, he could not use the bathroom, and his stomach was extended, big like that. And he was crying at all times when we visit him. He was crying. He was saying, so and so and so, this, that. I'm not gonna go into details, but he had a lot of complaints of what was going on with him. And the most important thing is that the night before the shooting, he went to the church because he was a drummer. At 15, he was a drummer in the church, and there was a man who came from Africa who preached that night. He was telling me it happened Monday, and he went to church Sunday night, and then he was telling me about what the man said to him while they were what's a minute? Yeah, just a minute. Yes. So he told me that he was playing the drums when this pastor came to him and said, "Come here." And he got up and he went to the altar where he was, and he said, "I see a dark clouds. I see dark clouds hanging around you. You got to be careful." And then he called up some elders, and they all stretched their hands out with his instruction that they were to pray. And so they all prayed and anointed him with oil. It was a New Testament Church of God in the Bronx. And so after that, they told him that he was to pray and be careful because the devil was coming at him. So he came home and he was telling me that, and I kind of rebuked that and everything. And the next day, because he's just a close person, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a close person to me. And then he came home and he told me about it and everything. I said that already, but I just want to emphasize it. He told me about it, and we prayed together and everything. And then he next day he was in the karate. He was doing karate. He was learning to cut hair, and he was involved in the YMCA in New York City at the time. He was an active kid, and so that's what happened there. So he went to the barber shop, and while he was there doing his thing, his little girlfriend came, and then she left, and then he called her up. A certain time he called her up, and then after he called her up, he was there on the phone talking to her when this guy came, and this guy came and no, it wasn't like that. He was talking to the girlfriend, and then he left from there and he went over the store across the street in the Bronx. And after he got over there, he was playing with this other young guy who was there. They were playing the machines, the game machines. And then this big man, 30 something years old, walked into the store and started roughing up the little boy. And this boy who was shot was shot. He was he wasn't older, but he was big. He was bigger. So he called out to the man and said, "No, you can't do the little boy like that." And the man was pissed off. So what he did after that, he went across. The man started telling him words, hard words, nasty words. So he went across the street and to go back to the barber shop, and then he went to the phone, and then the man came up to him and said, "You know who I am? You know who I am? You know, you know who I am?" And I guess I must say my son. I didn't want to say that, but it's my son. My son looked at him and said, "Do you know who I am?" And the argument started right there. And then the next thing that happened is that the man went away and came back, and he was still on the phone. and he pulled his gun and started shooting him just like that in New York City, 1996. And my son fell in the road, on the sidewalk on the road, and that's when he went to the hospital. All of this was not finished yet, because when they operated on him, he couldn't use the bathroom at all. And as I said before, his stomach was extended. And at that time, I knew the Lord because I was born in a home where the gospel was being preached, and there was always prayer and all of that. So I knew who Jesus is and was, and I acknowledged him, but I did not have a walk with him like I have now. And so what happened is that he was going through hell right there. So one night I went there, and he said, "Mom, things is not going well here. I don't think I'm going to live." And I said, "Why you say that?" And he explained everything that was happening to him at the hospital. And so what I did is I went to a doctor who came in to see him, and I said, "What's going on here?" And the doctor he said, "Let me tell you what's going on." They went inside of his stomach, and there is a tube or something that was not connected right in the tube, in the belly. And so that's what it is. They're trying to. Then I said, "It's not going to be fixed by itself. They're waiting for him to die then." Yes, that was the reality of it. They was waiting for the young boy to die, but he was strong. And so what I did is I removed him from that hospital through means of an ambulance, and I took him to another hospital in New York. And as soon as they called the hospital, before I got there, because they was against the move, they called the hospital. That hospital, first hospital, called that hospital to tell them that I was coming with the boy. And, it's nothing wrong, and all of that. He was trying to turn them away from me. But one doctor who was there said, "I'll take the case. He's a Jewish doctor. And he said, "I'll take the case. And he took the case. His name was Dr. Levy. I will never forget him. He was Mount Sinai Hospital. That doctor was excellent. And he took my son. And I said, "God bless you." When he was going with him to the OR room, they had to do another operation on him to rectify that situation. When they were going to the emergency room, I said, "Doctor, God bless you. God bless you." And he looked at me with that long, deep stare, and he shook his head and said, "Thank you." And as soon as the operation was completed, he came back to the room, and he was like, "Mom, everything is okay. Everything is okay." And I just hugged him. I said, "Can I hug you?" And I hugged him, and I said, "Thank you." Or if I did not move my child from there, that hospital, I'm not going to say what hospital, he would have died. Because they were just waiting. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. Nothing. For how many days it was? Like a whole week. He didn't eat or anything. From the time he was shot, he was not eating. So they was giving him the fluid in his hands, or his hand. But that's it. So I had to move him from there. So I'm just telling you now that, God is merciful. God is holy. God is righteous. And if you put your trust in him, I tell you, he'll never fail you. And that's what I did. I put my trust in him. And he was able to overcome that situation. May God bless you. Love you. Peace.